Hello and welcome to Here's to Your Health. I'm your host, Veggie Patty, and it's my pleasure to bring you information on healthy living. Today is a very special episode because it is our 25th episode. So we're so excited here in the studio. We actually are doing something a little bit different today, and our crew has been invited to be our audience for today. So that's the cheering that you'll hear in the background. So I have a friend of mine who's our guest for today, and this is Amber Poupore, and she is the owner of Cacao Tree Cafe, which is in Royal Oak. It's an all raw food restaurant, and you also just opened a new restaurant called Clean Plates in Shelby Township. Yep. And that's a vegetarian restaurant, right?
It is. It's vegetarian, fresh food, salads, soups, more transitional. We've created a menu that appeals to just about everybody.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so today's episode, Amber's going to be demonstrating raw desserts, and I wanted to do this for our 25th episode because raw desserts is one of my favorite things. I happen to like desserts. As you all know, I have a lot of food allergies, and there's a lot of things I can't eat, and I don't eat refined sugar, and raw desserts are just, I think it's a good way to go because you can have your cake and eat it too, for lack of better terms. So, Amber, tell us a little bit about raw food in the first place. What is raw food, and what's the raw food movement?
Raw food specifically is food that has not been heat treated above 118 degrees. When you heat food to a certain temperature, you are breaking down the enzymes. When you don't have the enzymes, it's the building blocks of the body. You have to take in, obviously, fiber, but you need the nutrients. A lot of vitamins, crucial elements to the food you're consuming is depleted upon heating. So the biggest thing is you're getting nutrient-dense food. I don't personally recommend a 100% raw food diet for really anybody. I mean, unless you have to go extreme for health reasons temporarily, but especially living here in Michigan, I'm all about balance. I think cooked grains, cooked beans are really beneficial. Certain foods actually, upon heated, are better. Carrots, for example, they have different nutrients. So what we do is we try to have a little bit of balance. We offer a full raw food menu, raw desserts, but we do have cooked soups, cooked plates, so that in the winter months we can provide something that has higher calorie, more grounding food. But ultimately, the life force in the food when you're consuming it uncooked is at its highest, especially when you think about something like a sprout. A sprout, the energy within a sprout is just, it's unbelievable. Wheatgrass, it's another one.
Great, great. So thanks for the explanation on raw food. So now raw desserts, what is different about raw desserts than, let's say, just a regular piece of birthday cake?
Well, raw specifically, obviously, like we were just saying, it's uncooked. So we do use a lot of nuts, a lot of dates, quite a bit of seeds. But essentially, we're making things that are recognizable to the standard American palate. For example, like mango cheesecake, coconut cream pie, which we're going to do tonight. Excuse me. We have a really popular chocolate bar called the Magic Bar. Everybody knows about the Magic Bar. And we make, for example, raw caramel. Our caramel is literally maple syrup blended with whole date. That's it. There's nothing added to it. There's no dairy. It's not that it's good for you, but comparatively to a normal traditional caramel, it's a lot healthier of an alternative.
Right, and that's what I like about raw food is, first of all, with raw foods in general, raw food are foods that the body actually recognizes. It's not all this, the processed, junk that we find today. So the body can recognize the food, the body can digest it more readily, it can intake the enzymes and absorb those into the body. And with raw desserts, we're just, as a reminder, it's not a free pass. So you can't just eat raw desserts all day long. But with the raw desserts, it's a much healthier option than, say, the regular standard desserts that you would find at a supermarket. So if you have a little bit of a sweet tooth, it's much better to go this route than it would be to have that, grocery store cake.
Exactly.
So,
and it's a, excuse me, it's a great introduction to someone who is a little apprehensive about a raw food diet or a vegan diet, because our facility is completely vegan. So it's a great way to turn somebody onto this and not even tell them. Offer them a piece of cheesecake and they'll love it. I mean, unless someone doesn't really like dessert, they can't not like the raw desserts. They're amazing. Right. The texture's spot on. You feel good when you eat it. So, and we don't use even like organic cane sugar. There's still a lot of processing and a lot of high glycemic index when it comes to cane sugar. So we try to use local maple syrup, local raw unfiltered honey. Dates are really high glycemic for just a fruit. We use coconut nectar. We've been really phasing out agave nectar for a couple different reasons, but we still do use it in a few recipes.
Okay, great. So why don't we just get started and let you show us your first raw dessert.
Awesome. We're going to do an easy one. It's a chocolate avocado pudding. One thing that I love about this is that anybody that likes chocolate pudding will love this recipe. The avocado gives it incredible texture. It's great for kids, and it's also, like we were saying, a great introduction to raw food. We're going to start with our liquid. I have here almond milk. You could use any liquid. You could even use water if you wanted to keep it less sweet. We're going to use about a half a cup. Put that in there. And this is almond milk. You could do coconut milk. You could do hemp milk. You could use packaged milks. You could use your own raw version. So I'm all about encouraging creativity and flexibility in the kitchen. I think that we get a little neurotic when it comes to living within a certain diet. So I think the beauty of raw food is that it is flexible in nature. We also have a half a cup of maple syrup. My personal favorite, I do like honey, but for me, honey is a little too sweet, so I just prefer to go with maple syrup. It's from a Amish farm up north, so it's a really high quality, trusted source. We also are going to use avocado is going to be the main base of this pudding. And I brought one whole that I have here because a lot of people, I do a lot of cooking classes, and there's always someone who doesn't know how to cut an avocado, so we're just going to start with this. You always want to make sure it's ripe. It's going to be softer on the outside. If it's not soft and it's really firm still, don't cut it, because once you cut it, you have to use it. And if you cut into an unripe avocado, at that point it's done. So always make sure it's soft. You can see the color here is beautiful, and that's what you're looking for. You can get this pit out by just taking your knife and kind of pushing and rolling this avocado pit out. There's various ways you can go about this. You could use a spoon to get it out. I've worked in restaurants for so long that we really just use a lot of shortcuts. I personally quarter my avocado, and if it's ripe, it'll come right off from the skin, and it just, to me, it comes off so much better than even scraping a spoon into it. So that's my little trick. So there's our first avocado. This recipe is going to call for 2 to 3 avocados. Things in nature are not created equal, and that's the beautiful part of it. So avocado is going to vary in size. You might need 2.5, you might need 3.5, but we're going to use 3. They're pretty standard size. Sorry, get this out. There's our last little bit there. And we're going to use a little bit of vanilla. Vanilla is lovely. It adds to the flavor. You're going to want to do anywhere from 1 to 2 tablespoons. It doesn't have to be in there. I prefer to use alcohol-free vanilla at all times because to me it lends a little bit of flavor. You're also going to want to add a little pinch of salt, preferably Himalayan pink salt or Celtic sea salt. Celtic sea salt would be my #1 recommendation. It comes from a trusted source, and that's, to me, one of the most important things about where your food comes from is you really got to know where your food comes from. And I'm almost forgetting the most important ingredient. This is cacao powder. Cacao is freshly harvested from the cacao tree. It's actually Theobroma cacao. Most chocolatiers will use cocoa. That's basically what you're going to find when you look at any mainstream chocolate bar. When you buy it off the shelf, it's going to be cocoa. And that's a roasted cacao. So what we have actually is the raw form, defatted powder, highest source of magnesium on the planet, highest source of antioxidants. It's amazing. This stuff is healing. So we're going to blend this up just for a minute. We want to make sure that we're able to thoroughly incorporate all of the ingredients. That's really important. You don't want to have chunks in your pudding, especially when you're making it for kids. So it is going to be a little loud just for a moment here. So bear with me. I recommend always starting on low as well. Want to continue to blend it a little bit longer. Obviously, for this purpose, we're not going to keep going. It will thicken as the powder incorporates into the avocado, but you can see the color here. It looks just like pudding, like chocolate pudding. It's a great thing that you can put into kids' lunches. It holds really well. Because it's already dark, you won't see the oxidation of the avocado, so I definitely recommend trying to make that at home. And like I said, you can be creative with it. I want to show you also something that is commonly people are intimidated by is Thai coconuts. This is a young Thai coconut. Most coconuts you see are brown hulled, that's a mature coconut. So when you talk about coconuts, you've got young coconut, mature coconut. Coconut tree to produce these takes 7 years to grow. So these are precious. They often go on global shortages because pasteurized coconut water has become really popular. Anything raw is better. So if you can, you do this fresh. It's worth it. You can find these at any kind of Asian market, health food stores. But you're going to want to start by trimming off this upper husk, and you'll just go all the way around. And one thing I've said for years in all of my teaching is that the most important tool in a kitchen is your knife. Before you invest in a $400 blender or a $200 food processor or all these fancy gadgets for a kitchen, I personally recommend getting a good knife. It is your most important tool. Without a good knife, you cannot prep vegetarian meals. It's just absolutely essential, and it's a much better investment for you. So you're going to go all the way around. You can kind of see there's a natural circle here, and you're going to need to use the kind of 90-degree angle of the blade. You never ever want to stab in like this, because obviously if your hand slips, you could injure yourself pretty good. So you always want to go for this bottom blade here. There's kind of a natural circle, and you can almost hear it when you tap. You got to give it a pretty good crack all the way around. You can see there's some water coming out, and you'll get your blade in there and pop this up. And here we have our coconut meat, which is going to be this white part that you see here, and this is all on the inside, and then you have your coconut water. You can literally stick a straw into this and drink it. This stuff is divine. Loaded with natural electrolytes. They actually use this down in South America for blood transfusions. This matches our blood perfectly. So Thai coconut water, liquid of the gods, in my opinion.
It's a much better option than Gatorade for if you need to be rehydrated.
Yes,
so.
Yes, exactly. And if you're going to use it in a recipe, what I recommend is just getting a bowl with a little strainer, and you can just take it. If you're not going to drink it straight, you just dump it through the strainer, and that way if there's any little pieces of fiber, that you're not going to get that inside your raw dessert or your dressing or smoothie, whatever you're going to make with it. You can do a lot with this. So.
Okay, great. So, all right. Well, we are going to move along to the next dessert. Right now, Amber's going to demonstrate how to do a coconut cream pie, and she's going to start by showing you the crust. This is probably the easiest pie crust ever, and it's actually good for you. So
exactly, it tastes good too. So much of the crust is about the technique. It's a very basic recipe. You're going to want to start with a cup of nuts. We're going to use cashew, but you could use any nut. The main thing is, for example, if you were using almond, almond has a lot harder of a shell than a cashew. So if you were using almond, you would want to pre-process the almond by itself and get it down to a crumble. Cashew is so soft, it's going to crumble. It's going to be okay mixed in with everything. So that's just the most important thing to understand. We also have organic unsulfured shredded coconut, 1 cup. So we'll put that in there. So we have a cup of each. And then the recipe is going to call for 8 to 10 pitted dates. And like I said earlier, in nature, not everything is created equal. So you might buy some dates that are really tiny. You might get some that are really big and juicy. Preferably purchase them non-pitted. You want to pit them yourself. You just open it up, pick the pit out. I recommend keeping it off to the side so that you can count as you go, because every once in a while you might miss that pit and it's not going to get broken down in here. So we've got 8 to 10 dates, and they're just medjool dates. You could use raisin if you'd like. You could use currants. There's a variety of different things, but date seems to work the best. So we're going to put that in. You're going to want to add, preferably for me, a little bit of hand-ground vanilla smell.
Oh yeah, that's definitely vanilla smell.
Yep, amazing. Fresh hand-ground vanilla, there's nothing like it. It is extremely expensive. It's divine. It's vanilla pod broken up, and you can see here, it's amazing. The nice thing about doing a raw crust is that you can add more healthful benefits. I brought today, because this is coconut cream pie, it has it's a flavor that can kind of go a couple different directions. So I brought a couple superfruits to add into it to make it even better for you. So here we have some goji berries, which are amazing, top 3 in all of Chinese medicine. And then I also brought golden raisins. They're just a little bit better for you than a regular raisin. Always trying to upgrade, look for the best stuff. You're going to want to do a pinch of mineral salt. Salt gets a bad rap. We need minerals. It's really important. You have to have minerals. So unfortunately, for some people, they avoid salt. I recommend good salt. You have to have it. And then that's it. We're going to process this. You want to pulse process, which means we're going to turn it off, turn it on. Turn it off, turn it on. My Cuisinart is probably as old as me, so I don't have a pulse button. So we're actually going to turn it and turn it back a couple times to get everything incorporated equally. That's pulsing, turning it off, turning it on. It's really important that you do that. What would happen if you didn't? You would have date paste all the way around the bottom of your processor. So we're going to let this go for a minute. Raw food is very visual. You want to constantly check your texture. If it's too dry, what are you going to do? You're going to add more date because the date is the moisture in this recipe. If it's too wet, you're going to want to add more coconut. This is looking somewhat dry. One thing you can do is you can press your crust up against the wall of the food processor. If it sticks well, it's done. If it's not sticking, it's not done. So we're going to add in just a little bit more date because we want this to stick into our pie crust. We're not going to use butter. We're not going to use oil. We're just going to hand press this right in. So. And it's looking a lot better. And now you can see here, if we press this on, it's actually sticking. So that's what we want. Now you're going to want to use, this recipe is actually for a 9.5-inch pie crust, which is a little bit larger than one you might have at home. So you're literally just going to take it out, spread it out in your pan. You don't have to use glass, you can use whatever you have at home. And then you're just going to press. The important thing is to press firmly because you want consistency and you want it to be thin. You don't want to have to bite into a bunch of crumbled cashew and shredded coconut. You don't want it to be taking away from the cheesecake filling. So you'll literally just go around, work your sides all the way around your pie crust pan.
Okay, great. Okay, and now you can see the completed pie crust. So this is the pie crust that we just made with the dates and the coconut and the goji berries. You can see that the goji berries adds that color to it. So we're going to move on to the filling now.
And really quick, I wanted to show you how easy it is to make macaroons, a little snack. When you have your pie crust, same recipe, just get a little scooper. And you have here little macaroon snacks. You can take them with you and munch on them, add more superfoods to it. So just another little trick with raw food. Now this is a coconut cream pie. So what we're going to use is we're going to use the coconut meat from our Thai coconut, which you remember earlier we had our young Thai coconut. So we cut out the meat, and then we also have the Thai coconut water that's been strained. So we're going to start with 1.5 cups of the coconut meat, and this is going to need to be in a high-speed blender. You really need to break down the texture. Now we have about 1/2 cup of the coconut water. You might need to add a little bit more depending on the dates and the consistency. So we're going to start with less is always better. You can always add more. We have about 8 to 10 dates here that I've already pre-pitted for you. So we're going to put those into our blender. And then we're also going to add a little bit of the alcohol-free vanilla, organic of course, because that is delicious. And we're going to add some vanilla powder because it's amazing and it adds incredible flavor. The one thing I do love about this dessert specifically is that you don't have to add a liquid sweetener. It's all in here. The Thai coconut water is sweet, the dates are sweet, so you don't have to add much, which is nice. It's a nice treat. And we're just going to blend this here just quick. Now you can see it's starting to incorporate really well. Now I could keep going, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to keep doing that with the noise. The last ingredient that you have to add last is coconut butter, which is different than coconut oil. It's actually the entire mature meat ground into a butter, so it's very different than coconut oil. It's not going to work the same. There's a lot of confusion as far as these products, so they are not created equal. You're going to do about a half a cup of coconut butter. This is really going to help solidify your cheesecake. Without it, it doesn't really bind, and we don't have any dairy, we don't have anything in here, there's no butter, there's nothing that's going to help this product bind. So the coconut butter is a really crucial element to this.
Now, this butter, you did actually use a crock pot to warm it and melt it.
Yep, exactly. At the cafe, we would use our dehydrator. But for coming here today, I thought, yeah, I've got a little mini crock pot. I put it in there. It was perfect. It didn't heat it too hot, boil it, or anything like that. So that actually, it worked great. Probably end up using that more often.
I know I've done it at home. I've used the kind of like a double boiler method. Like I just put the jar in. I get the pot heated up first, not too hot, and then I put the jar in the pot after it's off of the heat, because I don't want it to melt plastic on the stove, and then it just melts it, and then I can take it out of the jar. So
exactly. And the important thing is to use it melted, because otherwise it's solidified in your recipe, and then you can't thoroughly incorporate it into the entire cheesecake. So I'm just going to turn this on just for a moment, get this mixed up here. Leave it at that, because otherwise it would just be too loud. So at this point, you would just put your filling into your pie crust. You know, that's the next step. The important thing is to finalize this project. You have to put it in the freezer. The freezer, the cold temperature is what's going to help really solidify it. Coconut butter, coconut oil softens at warm temperatures. So we put it in the freezer to really bind the flavors, everything comes together. For a garnish, what I like to do is I get coconut ribbon, and you would just sprinkle that on top. And garnishing is very important, hence the figs on that pie there.
Great. So, all right. So now we're going to show you a completed pie. This is different. This one right here is a raw moon pie. So this is the one thing that I especially love about raw desserts, is that things that you thought, if you're going to become a vegetarian or a vegan, or if you're going to move to raw food, things you think you can never eat again, you can actually duplicate the flavors in a raw form so that it's actually healthy for you. So, you know, tell us what's in this raw pie.
The biggest, most incredible part, it's Brazil nut. It's Brazil nut that gives it the creamy layer, because the top you can see there's some golden figs, and then you have the layer of the chocolate, the raw chocolate. Underneath is this divine light, fluffy cream that is basically Brazil nut, blended with the coconut butter, some vanilla, and it's amazing. The Brazil nut just puts it over the top.
Yeah, and it tastes so good. And actually, if we have one of your knives, we can just cut into it to show everybody what it looks like on the inside.
Because this is one of our most popular desserts. My first chef, when we originally opened the Cacao Tree, she's amazing. She's so talented, and she's actually Japanese. She's never had a real moon pie in her life, and she creates things, it's softening. She creates things by visually looking at them and smell. And she came up with this moon pie. She's never had a moon pie in her life, and she's the one that created this, and it's just absolutely divine.
Yeah, and you can see the inside of that. It looks, yeah, it's really wonderful. And so this is what the crew gets to try tonight in celebration of our 25th episode. So I wanted to, they're all excited about the food. So I wanted to thank you again, Amber, for coming on the show and doing all these great demonstrations on raw desserts. And it's just great being able to have people like you that can come on and educate our public. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This is what I love to do. It's what I live for, and being creative is, one of the best parts about it. It's my form of art and inspiration, and if I can get someone to eat healthy by starting them on a raw dessert, I feel my day has been accomplished. So
great. Well, we always close our show with a little toast to the viewers, and Amber is no stranger to coconut juice over here, or not coconut, sorry, cucumber juice. I have coconut on my mind. So just remember that no matter the cards you were dealt or your current state of health, you have the power to take charge of your health. So never give up and never stop learning. The solution you seek may be just around the corner. So if you can join me in a toast to our viewers, I wish you a wonderful today and an even better tomorrow. Here's to your health.
Salute.